coming to you from Nashville, Tennessee. This is the award-winning ParaReality Radio. My name's Sandman, and myself, along with Mr. Eric Patterson, are going to be your host for the next hour tonight. So good evening, everybody, and thanks for tuning in. It is Friday, June 21st, 2019, and of course, you know that means it's time for another episode of your favorite paranormal podcast, ParaReality Radio. Hey, Eric P., back in the house. Woo!
What's up, Sam, man? How you doing?
Hey, man. Been doing great. How about you? What's going on?
Good, man. Just living life, working, trying to adapt to this wonderful Tennessee summer.
This is not your first summer in Tennessee, is it?
No, it is not,
No,
but man,
okay.
I'll tell you what, I don't know that I've gotten used to it. It's just the humidity just hits me. I'm not,
Yeah.
I'm much more of a colder weather person, but
Yeah.
it's all good. Got to deal with deal with what's
I'm,
around.
I don't know that I'm either one. I'm not going to say I'm a cold weather person or a warm. Spring and fall, that's me.
Fall is definitely my favorite. Yeah. But yeah, it's been muggy.
So what all have you been up to? Now, before you answer that.
For sure.
I've had some people email me and say, "Hey, what's happened to Eric?"
Oh, really?
Yeah. Did he
Did
he get fired? Did he quit? What happened? No. Like I said last podcast, it's just been a scheduling problem.
For sure.
You went on vacation. You had a vacation
I did, yeah. Went down
scheduled,
to for Florida for a week, which was wonderful. Yeah, had a good time there.
And then after that, it's just been trying to get our schedules worked out. I've had,
Yep.
so we just talked about before we went on air. I've had some stuff going on with my job, my day job, and then it's just been trying to. And last time we were supposed to do it, I had to cancel kind of at the last minute. One day it was like, "Hey, let's record an episode," and he's like, "Great," and then like 6 hours later, I'm like, "Let's cancel that."
Yeah, let's scratch that
And
idea.
he's like, "Great, okay." So yeah, it's just been a scheduling thing. So nothing's happened to Eric. Everything is
I'm alive and well.
alive
Yep.
and well. Everything is going along just great. It's just been a scheduling problem. So,
For sure.
Yeah. So speaking of podcasting and stuff, how's things going over on the world we live in? What's
World
up
we
with
live
that?
in's good. Similar, actually, to you, Kyle, my best friend and co-host. He's been pretty busy. So last week, actually, I did an interview with the Singular Fortean Society out of Madison, Wisconsin. It's a couple, Emily and Tobias Wayland, and they have their own website. Just type in Fortean Society, you can check that out. But yeah, they do a bunch of stuff, more towards like researching on their own and interviewing. We got into a ton of stuff about Mothmen, or the Mothmen around the Great Lakes area, or most people who are familiar with the topic. There was a flap near Chicago. A ton of people, 2017, 2018, witnessed Mothman-like entities around the area.
I have heard that. Yes, I haven't looked into it much, but I've heard about it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really interesting. They were telling me about some experiences outside of the city, even. So just the Great Lakes in general is just. Some people, I think it's like a window area. If you're into those theories. But just a strange area in general. That whole Great Lakes region has a lot of folklore and stuff cemented in it. Yeah.
That's cool. I'm definitely going to check that out then.
Yeah, please do.
I haven't actually had time to do much over the last month, really. So I haven't listened to a lot of
Yeah.
podcasts or internet stuff.
Yeah, but they do a ton of stuff. They've done like some ghost investigations and looked into some Bigfoot in the Kettle Moraine. I'd never heard of it before, but it's a forest area up there.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Interesting.
anyway, yeah, it was a good chat.
So how'd you find these people?
I reached out to them. I heard of their website over Twitter, and went on there and loved their stuff. They got really good artwork. And Emily, I believe Emily does the artwork, and Tobias is more of the writer and content guy. And
Nice.
And yeah, it's a really cool site. And yeah, I just asked them for an interview, and we got to chatting, and it was about an hour. Yeah, and it was a good talk. I really loved. Hopefully, we can do it again. Obviously, they're busy and stuff as everyone is, but yeah, it was a good time.
Definitely check that out. I'm gonna have to. Yeah, so that's available on Podbean, right?
Yes, my The World We Live In is available on Podbean. You can find us on iTunes, Spotify, pretty much anywhere.
I'm gonna have to get with you about the
iTunes
and the Spotify.
Okay.
I'm still trying to get on those. I know iTunes is shutting down. In case no one's heard, iTunes is shutting down, and they're going to redistribute all their stuff to different platforms.
Yeah, I saw something about that.
There's going to be a podcasting platform of some nature. So don't freak out, all you iTunes people, because it's I'm not an iTunes person very much, but. Still going to be around, so I'll get up with you after the.
Yes, we will definitely do that. Yeah,
sweet. So let's. Sorry, I got something in my throat there. So, tonight's show, man, is going to kind of be like going to kind of be a little dark one.
It's a pretty dark topic. Yeah.
And I say that because Eric and I are going to be what we're going to be talking about tonight involves suicide and now. That doesn't permeate. Well, it's not the entire show. The show is not about suicide. It's a part of what we're going to be talking about tonight, and that's because we're going to be talking about. And I know I'm going to slaughter this name. I practiced it, and
Japanese is a tough language.
Yeah. We're going to be talking about the Aokigahara Suicide Forest. I don't know how I said that right.
I've heard that. I've heard Aokigahara. Which I imagine is maybe a little more...
That's probably Aokigahara.
Yeah.
Aokigahara. Yeah, that's it. We're going to be talking about the Aokigahara Suicide Forest. Yeah, now that I look at the spelling and the pronunciation, that's it.
Yeah.
You're the man. Yeah. So, resting in the shadow of Mount Fuji is the Aokigahara Forest. It's actually the world's second most popular suicide location. It's called the perfect place to die. This place has the unfortunate distinction of, like I said, being the world's second most popular place to die by suicide. And since the 1950s, Japanese men, women, and teenagers have wandered in the forest, and so many of them haven't come back out that the Japanese government has stopped releasing the data. They won't even talk about what they think it is anymore. It's second in suicides behind only the Golden Gate Bridge in San Francisco. We were just talking about San Francisco.
Yeah.
The Aokigahara Forest is a beautiful but deadly place that's said to be haunted with demons and the tortured souls of those who have taken their lives there. So that's what we're going to be talking about tonight on the show. But before I get started, let me tell you how you can get in contact with us here, because there's a few different ways you can do it. First of all, you can visit the show website, ParaReality.com, and fill out the contact form on the About Me page there. Or you can send an email, sandman@ParaReality.com. That's sandman@ParaReality.com. You can also check me out on the Facebook page. The show Facebook page is ParaReality Radio. If you just go on your Facebook, do a search for ParaReality Radio, it'll come right up there. And the show's also on Twitter. You can follow the show there. And the handle is @ParaRealRadio. That's ParaReal Radio, all one word, @ParaRealRadio on Twitter. And, of course, finally, you can always call the studio line at 615-692-1170 and leave a message. Just be aware that I may play your comment back on the show, though. Simply by leaving me a message is giving me permission to do so. If you don't want me to do that, you better tell me in the message itself. And you never know. Now that I'm back doing a bi-weekly podcast, seems like I'm always in the studio doing something, so you may just call and catch me there. You never know. I have no idea. So those are all the different ways you can get in touch with us here during the show. Once again, sandman@ParaReality.com, @ParaRealRadio on Twitter, and the ParaReality Radio page on Facebook. Call the studio line, 615-692-1170. And before we get into this, I have something for you, sir.
Oh, wow.
Yes, I have an email. This comes from Debbie, and it says, "Hey, Sandman, love your new addition, Eric, a.k.a. Patty Man."
Yeah.
And it's signed Patty Mom.
Uh-huh.
Who is this person? Is this your mom?
That would be my wonderful mother.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
What is up with Patty Man? What is...
Yeah, Patty Man is kind of my nickname. It's part of my personal Twitter. But yeah, that's kind of what people call me all throughout high school. They call me Patty Man. So I played soccer my whole life, and I was a goalkeeper, so you got to kick a lot, and it even morphed into Patty Cannon because my leg was so strong. So, just variations upon Patty.
I love Patty Cannon.
Patty Cannon's. That's my all-time favorite.
Yes, Patty Cannon. That's your new name here on the show, Patty Cannon.
Oh, no.
I love it. I love it. So, yeah, thanks, Patty Mom.
Yeah.
Debbie, a.k.a. Patty Mom.
Exactly.
For sending that in. I think Eric is a great addition to the show. I love having him as a co-host.
Appreciate
we get along great, and I'm glad that you accepted my offer. Your check's in the mail. Just don't hold your breath.
I'll be waiting for it. Yeah.
Don't hold your breath, Ben. So let's start talking about the Aokigahara Forest. So at the foot of Mount Fuji, the highest mountain peak in Japan, is about a 14 wide forest called the Aokigahara. For many years, the shadowy woodland was known as the Sea of Trees. That's his other name, because it's so thick with trees. It's so dense in there. But unfortunately, in recent decades, it's taken on a new name, which is the Suicide Forest. For some visitors, Aokigahara is a place of serenity and unbridled beauty. Hikers looking for a challenge can go through the dense thickets of trees with all their big knotted up roots above the ground and the rocky areas to assess amazing views of Mount Fuji. There's even some ice caves in there somewhere.
Yeah, I heard that.
Yeah. And they even have, sometimes school children will visit there on field trips to explore the aforementioned ice caves. It is, however, a little eerie as well. The trees have grown so closely together that you spend a lot of your time in darkness. It's so thick in there that the sunlight doesn't really penetrate it very well. And unfortunately, what most people come to Japan's Suicide Forest say they remember is the silence, that it is just a very, very still and quiet place, that the silence is almost deafening, is the way that I've heard it described. The forest floor there is made of volcanic rock from an eruption from Mount Fuji that occurred in 864. And they say that one of the reasons why it's so quiet in there is because that porous rock kind of helps absorb the sound in it. So that's very interesting. And then you have all the leaves and everything falling, so you have all of this noise-absorbing material, and it just makes it really, really quiet. I said it's a quiet, solemn place, and unfortunately, it's seen its share of quiet, solemn people.
Yeah.
Though reports have been deliberately hidden, and they try to shut down all the bad news as much as they can coming out of there. It's estimated that as many as 100 people take their own life in the form of suicide there in that forest every year. So this is something that I've known about for a long time. I've always wanted to do an episode on it. I've just never gotten around to it. And I don't know why, but for some reason I thought, man, this would be a perfect episode for me and you to do.
Yeah,
So.
I agree. I've known about this place for, I think, a couple years. I think the first stories I heard of it were about it being haunted, and then once you get into it, you realize that a lot of people commit suicide at this place. And And yeah, it's so if you go on YouTube, there's a Vice, there's a 20-minute Vice documentary that follows. You seen it? Yeah. That follows a guy who is a nature researcher there, and he is basically going around and trying to find people that are going to commit suicide or have already committed suicide. But as you were saying, it's very quiet. You can even get a sense in the documentary that it is just like sound deafening. Because it's super quiet, and there's not a ton of conversation. It's mostly them walking around. But they do interview a little, but it gives you a good sense of what it looks like. Yeah.
The popular show on the Travel Channel, Ghost Adventures, went there, I don't know, 2 or 3 years ago, maybe even been longer than that, I don't know, and did an episode. I don't remember too much about it, but I remember that they were freaked out just simply by going in there.
Yeah.
They got freaked. Of course, you can drop a pin and those guys get freaked out. But that's one of the things I love about them is like, we're not scared of anything, and then they hear a noise like, what the hell was that? And they start running away. So yeah, I have I've seen that documentary, and there is another documentary that was by this guy. Let's see, I got his name written down here. It was like last year, Paul Logan. You ever heard of Paul Logan?
Oh yeah, I heard about this. Gosh.
What do you think about that?
About what he did?
Yeah. What do you think about it?
Well, very poor taste.
Yeah.
He was just trying to get clickbait. And I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. From his point of view, it was probably beneficial, but extremely poor taste, and I highly disagree with it. But yes, he went there, and did he find a dead body? Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So this guy's a social media
YouTuber,
influencer, whatever the hell that. I wish I could. I want that job.
How did you not get into that?
I'm too old. It passed me by.
Ah, darn.
Yeah. So he's one of those people that makes his living off YouTube.
Yeah.
And the whole clickbait thing. In case you're not familiar with what clickbait is, I'm not going to get into it. Just look it up. But it's how you make money off YouTube, basically. Yeah. So he took some friends and went to Japan and went to the Aokigahara Forest and was just filming it. I don't know that he intentionally wanted to find someone dead in there. I don't know if that was part of what he was doing.
Yeah.
But he did, and there's found some dude hanging from a tree, and fortunately he was like laughing and making light of it and everything like that, and put it up on his YouTube channel, and he even had a disclaimer there at the very beginning, was like, this is not clickbait, this is a very serious issue, and I'm doing this for education or something like that. And then it pretty much ruined his career almost, I think.
Yeah, I've not seen the video. I don't know that it's actually still up. I don't think it is.
Well, in doing research for the show, I was trying to find it.
Yeah.
And I found an article somewhere that was talking about it, and there's another website that has videos, and I can't remember what the name of it is. I've never heard of it.
Yeah.
And I'm not even going to give this website out because when I clicked on the thing where it had, okay, here's the video, you can watch it on this other website. I clicked on it and I started watching it, and I got about, I don't know how long the video is, but it's not a short one. I would imagine it's at least half an hour, 45 minutes. That's what it looked like it was going to be. But about 10 minutes into it, some virus started to try to eat up my computer, so I had to unplug it real quick.
Oh, no.
So yeah. So luckily everything's good.
Okay.
Nothing got infected. When I didn't get the black screen of death, but I got this blue screen, and all this word and stuff was coming across it, and I was like, oh no, and I was like, that's a virus, so I just unplugged it from the wall real quick.
Cord,
And then I ran a virus scan on it, and I'm clean. So, but that's why I'm not going to give that.
No, not worth it.
Yeah, that plus I don't think that it's, I don't want to promote what this guy did.
No.
I'm kind of on the fence a little bit with it, because if you're going out there and you're filming a video, and you have and your job is that to make videos for YouTube, or even if you're like doing a video podcast, like it's very similar to this what we're doing here. If you and I went out and we're like, oh look, we've got some extra money, we won the lottery, we're going to go to the Aokigahara Forest and film a video, and then we find a dead body. Do you not put it on, or do you? You know, I mean, there's a fine line. My whole problem is not with him having the body on there. And once again, I did not see that part, so I don't know how long did they just stand there and film it for 20 minutes or something. I don't know. But how long do you have that on there? And then the way that he was acting before he went in, it was kind of like a douche.
Yeah.
You know, he seems like, I don't know the guy, but that's the only time I've ever heard of him.
Yeah.
So, you know, and then I saw 10 minutes of a video of him, and he seems like kind of a dickhead. So, you know.
Yeah. No, that's his persona. I've never watched any of his videos. I've just seen bits and pieces, but yeah. I don't that whole YouTube thing I never really got into. We're following like YouTubers and stuff like that. Even though I'm on the younger end, I never got into that stuff. But
consider yourself lucky, because I did.
Oh, did you really?
Oh my God, yes. So that has nothing to do with the show. I'll tell you about.
Okay.
We'll talk about that later.
Sure.
We'll talk about that off. But yeah, it's a rabbit hole.
Yeah,
it's a whole rabbit hole. So Aokigahara has always been like, it's always had some sort of morbid myth associated with it. The oldest are unconfirmed stories of an ancient Japanese custom called ubasate. Let me try that again. Ubasute. And ubasute is that it goes back to feudal times when food was scarce and the situation was growing desperate for families. They might take like one of their elderly relatives that they were taking care of, and it was usually typically a woman, and they would take them out to the forest and just leave them there to die. Kind of like what people do with their pets these days. I don't want to take care of this dog anymore, so I'm going to take him out to the forest and drop him off and leave him there to die.
Oh, man.
Yeah. The practice, they don't know that it was actually real or not. It may be more fiction than fact. A lot of the scholars just dispute that it was ever common, because the Japanese culture is to take care of the elderly. So they don't really know if this is something that's true or if it's just a rumor. But it's you know, these accounts have made their way into Japan's folklore and even their poetry, and from there they've attached themselves to the suicide forest. And there's also rumors of something called the Yuri, or ghosts.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
I've heard it pronounced Yuri.
Yuri, okay, yeah, that's probably better. Thank God for you, because I would just totally slaughter it. The Yuri, right?
Yeah,
Yuri,
that's what I've heard.
Okay, yeah, okay, so we'll say the
go with
Yuri.
that.
Yeah, the Yuri, or ghosts, visitors claim they saw, were presumed to be in the vengeful spirits of those old people who had been abandoned to starvation and at the mercy of the elements. But, you know, all that began to change sometime in the 60s when the forest's long and tangled history with suicide began. Today, the forest phantoms are said to belong to those who went out there and killed themselves, the sad and the miserable and even the angry people. Who knows how many there are out there? We'll probably never have an exact count. There are a lot of people who believe that a book is to blame for the resurgence in the forest's popularity. Sometime in the 60s, this guy by the last name of Matsumoto published his famous novel, Kiori Jukai.
I think that's right.
I'm looking at Eric,
Yeah,
and he's
yeah.
like, "Yeah, that's
No,
right."
I had a page where the book is titled. Yeah.
And the book's the translation is The Black Sea of Trees is what I have, and in the end, what happens is it's a love story, and in the end, the lovers go to the Aokigahara Forest and they kill themselves. So that's where people are saying that the popularity for it becoming a place to go to commit suicide began was because of this book. Apparently, this was a hugely popular book in Japan in the 60s.
Yeah.
Contemporary news outlets have noted the recent spike in suicides in the forest, and they are blaming them more on the economic turndown in Japan rather than on the novel by Matsumoto. But as early as sometime in the 50s, tourists were reporting encountering decomposing bodies in Aokigahara. And what brought the brokenhearted to the forest in the first place may remain a mystery, but its reputation in the present as Japan's forest is both deserved and undeniable. I was reading that, obviously. You could probably tell that. So we have here, 2 or 3 different things that could be going on as far as, we have ghosts and we have people being brought out by their family and left to die, and we have a novel that's you can look at the Ubasate thing and say, well, we don't know if that's true or not. I can be down with that being nothing more than a rumor or a legend, but the book thing is undeniable. We have the book. It's, we know it was written, and in the book, people they off themselves in the end.
Yeah.
So, why would a book though inspire so many people to go to a certain location to kill themselves? I don't get it. I'm not.
Yeah, it's an interesting phenomena there. Did you come across another book called The Complete Manual of Suicide?
No,
yeah,
I did not.
So this was from 1993 by Wataru Tsurumi, and this supposedly had the same impact. Some claim they added to the fuel and added fuel to the fire in suicide rates. The author described the Aokigahara as the perfect place to commit suicide, and even described which parts of the forest are less circulated so the bodies cannot be found.
Oh, I can't believe I didn't come across that.
Yeah, I came across it. I listened to another podcast talk about it, and I found it online. So God, that's so morbid. That's so morbid. Why would you? What provokes someone to write a book about that?
I don't know. I have no idea.
Sure.
I can understand writing a work of fiction,
of course,
using a real place.
Yeah.
It's just like what inspires people to go to the Golden Gate Bridge, and jump off the Golden Gate Bridge.
Yeah.
My God, if I wanted to kill myself, I'm not going to go and jump off the Golden Gate Bridge. I'm going to do something a little, I don't know, maybe less dramatic. I don't know.
Yeah.
Literally go out with a splash. I was going to say a bang, but depends on how you hit the water.
That's true. It could sound like a bang.
Feel like one too. Yeah. So what I'm not understanding is how a work of fiction can inspire so many people not to commit suicide. I'm not saying that Matsumoto's book inspired people to commit suicide. What I'm saying is how did it romanticize the idea of suicide in this one location? Suicide has always been romanticized. You go back to, Shakespeare. Romeo and Juliet.
Plays, all that.
So suicide's always, unfortunately, been romanticized, but the location is what I don't understand. But I've seen pictures of Aokigahara, and it looks like someplace you'd want to kill yourself. Really, you've seen the same pictures I have, I'm sure.
Well, it has that monotonous distance of the same picture forever. It's similar to the Pacific Northwest in a sense. Yeah, it's kind of dreary, quiet, beautiful. You can kind of get lost in it, just kind of staring at it. And apparently the Sea of Trees description, I guess, comes from if you're above if you're like on Mount Fuji, you can look down and the forest looks like a sea because it's so dense.
Yeah, I've seen aerial drone shots of it, and it is literally a carpet of trees. When you look down, it looks like a green, plush carpet down there. It is so dense and so thick. And then you see pictures, people have taken down on the ground, and it's dark in there. It's dank. I mean, it's like the moon. I believe Neil Armstrong described the moon as beautiful desolation.
Ooh, wow.
And that's kind of what that reminds me of. I mean, it's just a, I don't know. I just the feeling that I get from looking at the pictures, I can't imagine what kind of feeling you would get actually being there and knowing that this is where people go to kill themselves. Kind of like, going to, I would akin it to, and I've never been this place either, but I would akin it to going to like Auschwitz and seeing, some of the Holocaust stuff and go, oh man, this is heavy. You can just feel the heaviness.
Yeah.
So there's got to be, because of all of the people that are there has got to be some kind of just dark, dank energy that permeates through that because of all of those dead people.
Yeah, I agree. It's definitely part of different areas around the world. The past that, even if it's not haunted, and even if you don't experience something, you still know it's not a mystery to anyone that bodies have been found there. And when walking in, you know that people have committed suicide, and it's always in the back of your head. And it definitely affects, I would imagine, the way you see the location and everything. Yeah.
Since the early 70s, there's been a small army of police and volunteers and journalists who, every year, annually, they scour the area in search of bodies to bring out. And they say they never leave empty-handed. There's always something to find in there. The body count has supposedly been significantly increasing over the recent years. Some of the data I have here goes back to, well, I'll just read you what it says. It says in 2004 there's 108 bodies in varying states of decay that were recovered from the forest. And that only accounts for the bodies that the searchers managed to find. We don't know how many they haven't found yet. Unfortunately, because it's so thick and just hard to find your way in there, there's supposedly trails. But so many people wander off the trails, and it's so easy if you wander off the trail. So easy to not only get lost, but it's also difficult to find somebody too. I mean, if you don't want to be found, you can go into that forest and just wander off a trail, and no one will ever find you. And then, of course, if you have, even though people are going to search for you, you've got, if you've been out there for months, decay, and animals are going to pick at you and carry your stuff off,
exactly.
and all that sorts of stuff. So you will never ever truly, I don't think, get an accurate body count on a yearly body. I don't think we'll ever get a yearly one. Some other data that I have here. Let's see. We've already talked about how that Aokigahara is the second most popular place in the world to commit suicide behind the Golden Gate Bridge. But there's been so many people that kill themselves there that the authorities have placed signs at the entrance to the park with warnings like, please reconsider, think carefully about your children and your family and stuff like that at the entrance and everything. Some more data that I found. I don't know how accurate this is. This in 2010, it says 247 people attempted suicide in the forest, but only 54 were successful. And in general, hanging is the most common cause of death, with drug overdose running a close second. I don't have really numbers for anything. Well, I have 2010 here, and then I have 2002 and 2003 and 2004.
Yeah.
And I don't have anything between 2004 and 2010. The Japanese government, it says that they are afraid that the totals are, because they're on the rise, that it's encouraging others to follow in the footsteps of those who've already went out there and killed themselves. So they stopped releasing the numbers. So, like I was saying, they have patrols that regularly scout the area, hoping to find people who are going out there to kill themselves and maybe redirect them. I found a little article that says that locals say they can easily spot there are three types of visitors that come out there. You've seen this. I see you've seen the same thing.
Yeah.
So they're trekkers interested in the scenic vistas of Mount Fuji, the curious hoping for a glimpse of all the dead people and stuff out there, and then there are those who are going out there to actually kill themselves. So I'm sure you saw that same article.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. And according to some reports, the forest workers have to carry the bodies from the forest to the local police station, where they are put in a special room specifically to house those corpses. Now, there is a belief in Japanese culture that if a corpse is left alone, that it's bad luck. And the ghost, especially for someone that's a suicide victim, and their spirits are said to scream through the night, and that their bodies will move on their own. So the guards at this police station, they play rock, paper, scissors to decide who's going to be the one to sleep next to the body during the night. Yeah. So this just shows how much they believe in, that, and how they're afraid of that, and they would prefer to sleep in the same room close to the body than take a chance and let this thing, this Uri ghost.
Yeah, that's an interesting point, because Japan has always been, like, even you go way back in history, like before Japan was like touched by Westerners, Japan was always like the mysterious place that kind of no one had been to. There's a movie called Silence, and I believe it's Silence, and it's about 3 Jesuit priests that go to Japan. I think it's Liam Neeson and a couple other actors. I can't remember off the top of my head, but they go there, and they don't know anything about it. They're Christian. I believe they're Jesuits. But yeah, so it's always been a mysterious place. And then, I mean, you go into folklore and all that stuff, like the yokai, which are like supernatural spirits, monsters in Japanese folklore that like inhabit many aspects of the landscape. And
that's the bird demon, right? The yokai?
Yokai is like just a blanketed term for supernatural monsters, spirits, and demons. At least that's how I know it. That's how I've heard stories. Yokai is just like a general term of, there's hundreds and thousands of them. But yeah, they inhabit places. I'm
thinking about the Tengu.
Okay. I've never heard that term.
The Tengu is, there's 2 different kinds of Tengu, and one of them is a bird demon. It's a man that has a head of a bird, kind of, and it wears these long white robes and stuff. That's supposedly one of the demons that haunt the forest.
Oh, the forest, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
yeah.
Gotcha. I mean, even that, there's a lot of spiritual folklore, and I would say Asian cultures in general are more spiritually focused than definitely Westerners. In the West, we sort of live in the physical more so, but no, I would say the Eastern cultures have more reverence for their ancestors and what death entails. The afterlife, reincarnation, all that is totally different than the Western perspective. So that definitely plays a role into what it means to commit suicide in the Japanese culture as compared to the Western culture.
Yeah, suicide isn't necessarily treated the same way in Eastern culture as it is here in Western culture. In doing research for this, unfortunately, you come across, all kind of stuff about suicide because you're researching the suicide forest, so you're going to have all kind of stuff. But the numbers that I found said that Japan is like the 26th most commonly, or ranks number 26 in people who kill themselves.
Okay.
Which I thought it was probably a little bit higher than that.
Yeah, interesting.
But it apparently is in Japan, from what I'm reading, from what I understand from what I'm reading, is if you lose your job in Japan, that's a big deal. I mean, it's a big deal anyway.
Yeah.
No matter where you're at, But it's a huge deal in Japan, and if you can't find a way to support yourself and your family, you're considered undesirable, especially if you're a man.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
You're undesirable. You can't get no woman is going to want to be with you because you can't support yourself. You can't support a woman. You can't support a family, and then they have to support their elders as well. So if you can't support yourself, you can't support mom and dad or grandma or whatever.
Yeah.
So men just can't find a job, time to kill myself, head off to the forest or whatever and do what I got to do. I mean, and it's kind of, that's basically like how they treat it over there.
Yeah. No, it's true, and Japan has not had an easy go of it since World War II. It's been up and down. I know just from studying economics, Japan has this area in the early 90s, the lost decade. So Japan had the world's second largest gross national product after the United States. But by the late 90s, it ranked first in gross national product per capita worldwide. But it ended in the early 90s when the economy stalled and basically plunged Japan into the lost decade. And yeah, I know it's been tough for Japanese to come back from that, and like you said, losing jobs, the economy tanks, lots of people lose their jobs, and that could definitely come into play.
I did not know that about that in the 90s.
Yeah,
That's interesting.
It was from what I understand pretty intense. Yeah.
Interesting. So looking at some of the info that I've gathered, we were talking about my one called the Tengu, and yours was, where'd you go?
Yeah, the yokai.
The yokai,
Yeah.
yes. So in the research that I found, it says that the Japanese popular belief is that if a person dies in a deep sense of hatred, anger, sadness, or desire for revenge, their soul can't leave this world, and it continues to wander, appearing to other people who are feeling the same way, or who are suicidal. And these souls are called the Yurei.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And they are found in a lot of the modern cultural references in movies and stuff like that.
Yep.
Here in the West, our ghosts in our horror movies, pretty much they want something specific. They're out to try to tell you who killed me, or I'm out for revenge because you killed me, or something like that. But that in the Eastern culture, especially talking about the Yuri, how do you say it again? The
Yokai?
Yokai?
Yuri? Yeah.
Yuri? Yeah, the Yuri, yeah. I'm sorry. The Yuri, they don't want anything in particular. They just want to have their curse removed from them so they can move on, or whatever conflicts they had that was unresolved, they want it to be resolved, so they don't necessarily want anything. And another interesting tidbit of info that I found, that according to some Japanese spiritualists, the trees themselves are soaked in malevolent energy that has accumulated over the years, which kind of goes back to what I was saying at the top of the show, where there's got to be so much bad energy there that you can't help but to just soak it all in.
Yep.
And here you've got all this natural environment, this porous lava rock. I don't know if that is anything. They say like limestone really absorbs bad energies.
I've heard that,
all that sorts of stuff. I don't know if lava rock would be the same. I have no idea. It'd be interesting to look into that. But yeah, they're just. It makes sense that they believe that the trees can harbor all that bad energy, because that's a lot. That's 90% of what they see. It seems like people are going out there sad and hanging themselves from the trees.
Yep.
And some even say that the trees could possibly even be alive themselves. As you look at the roots, the way that the ground is while the lava and everything, the roots kind of grow above ground, and it gives the appearance of tentacles or legs or something like that.
Yeah.
So giving you the impression that they can walk. So there's some that says, hey, it's the trees are evil.
Yeah.
They've been exposed to so much bad stuff. The trees are evil. They're alive, and so I don't necessarily subscribe to that, but I definitely believe that they absorb that bad energy.
For sure. No, I'm with you on the energy part. It's unfortunate that place has become such a dark place where individuals go when they're wanting to commit suicide, because it is, just looking at pictures, it's a gorgeous place. Mount Fuji is like, Japan's I believe it's Japan's holiest mountain, but it's gorgeous. It's probably one of the most gorgeous mountains in the world. Like when you think of, you're like Mount Fuji, Mount Kilimanjaro, what's that one out by Seattle? Mount Rainier.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think it's Mount Rainier.
Yeah, I think it's Mount Rainier.
But they're similar. They like tower over the landscape, and I know from Seattle you can see Mount Rainier, and it's like I think it's like a 3-hour drive, 2.5 maybe. But in the distance, it's massive, and I'm sure Mount Fuji's the same way. Yeah.
Yeah, just seeing what I've seen from Mount Fuji, like on TV and on the internet and all that sorts of stuff. You can see it, and you're like, well, it's a day's travel, to get there.
Exactly.
So, winding things up.
Yeah.
What's your view like on the forest as a whole? Do you think that there is some sort of something, I don't know, for lack of a better word, an entity or something like that that's attracting these people to come kill themselves there? Is there something that's drawing these people there? Or do you think that just because it's such a popular spot that now we have all this bad energy in this forest?
Yeah. I believe that there definitely is some sort of darkness that draws people to it just because of the past bad energy. I do believe it's developed into something that draws people there that's bad. You could, I don't know that I necessarily believe this, but one could come to the conclusion that there could be some sort of dark force that has set itself upon the location and in like a mass consciousness kind of way brought it into being a dark place. So there could be some dark force behind the thoughts that get into people's heads.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to agree with you on that.
Yeah.
I think that because I don't think the place itself is evil. I don't think that there's anything that's malevolent that exists in there that's drawing these people, saying come to me and kill yourself. But however, I think that because there's been so many deaths there over the decades, that now there is a darkness that is and not just literal, but a figurative darkness as well.
Yeah.
That's there, and there's so much bad energy. You can't help but to not feel that.
Yeah.
That place has got to have some sort of bad, some sort of bad like energy that has just grown, from it being there. So, yeah, that's kind of what I think. So,
no, I'm with you.
Well, we have pretty much exhausted our time. We got about 8.5 minutes or so left. So before we close everything down, I just want to end by saying we've been talking a lot about suicide, and I feel obligated to mention this because when you're talking about suicide, that's always, like I said at the beginning of the podcast, it's a very dark subject. And I think that I'm obligated to mention this. I'm in the healthcare business on my day job, so I'm in this to save lives, and I see a lot of people come through every day who are in my line of work who are suicidal and depressed and feel like they have nowhere else to turn, and that the only thing they have left is to kill themselves. And I just want to close by saying that we can all help prevent suicide. Everybody. Life is a precious gift, and it doesn't always go the way that we want it to go. And unfortunately, life is hard, man. But you know what? Along with the bad times comes good times. And I really think that there are more good times in everyone's lives than there are bad. But it's so easy to get focused in on the bad that you lose sight of the good. So if you are feeling depressed or suicidal, if you think you may want to harm yourself, kill yourself, or if you know someone or suspect someone is going through a hard time or is at risk of suicide, please get that person or get yourself help. Call the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline. That number is 1-800-273-8255. That number to call once again is 1-800-273-8255. There are counselors on the other end of that can help you. And there is help, there is hope, and you do not have to take your own life. Things will get better. And with that being said, we're going to wind the show down. Now, that was depressing. Jeez, that was so depressing. Oh,
it is heavy.
It is heavy, yeah. And then I have to end it on that note. Let's end it on let's do something. Let's bring it up a notch. Let's
do it.
Yeah, everybody, I hope that you enjoyed tonight's episode. Let me know what you thought by sending an email, sandman@ParaReality.com. Or you can just, like I said, go to the website, go to www.ParaReality.com. That's where you can find out all kinds of information about the show. You can listen to current and past episodes, and if you click on the Extras tab, you can join the official ParaReality Radio forum. It's free to join. You can shop in the ParaReality Radio store. You can watch some show videos and other stuff like that. And don't forget to look up the show on Facebook, just a ParaReality Radio on a search on your Facebook. Follow me on Twitter @ParaRealRadio. I post a lot of interesting stuff on Facebook and Twitter, like upcoming shows, special guests, interesting articles, stuff like that. So make sure you follow me both on Facebook and on Twitter to find out what's happening with ParaReal Radio. Eric, how can everybody get in touch with you? How can they follow you?
For sure. You can email me at worldweliveinpodcast. worldweliveinpodcast@gmail.com. You can find us on Twitter at worldwelivepod. And yeah, iTunes, all that. Email me with stories. If you just want to say hi, that's awesome too. And yeah, we'll just keep on cruising.
All right, so those are all the different ways you can get in contact with me and Eric here on ParaReality Radio. Next episode, let's see, going to be on Friday, July 5th, 2019. I'm going to be winding up my trilogy of episodes about haunted Tennessee. The first episode I did was on Tennessee cryptids, and the one I did last episode was on my top 10 haunted locations here in the state, and I'm going to wind it down on July 5th with my top 10 paranormal hotspots, specifically to Nashville.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so it's going to be hopefully a good episode. Everybody, I want to remind you that you can now listen to ParaReality Radio on a variety of different websites and streaming platforms. The show can, of course, be heard on Spreaker, which is where I host my podcast from, but you can also hear it on Facebook. You can also listen to it on YouTube. And if you want to stream the show, you can do it from the ParaReality.com website, or you can stream it on Google Play. You can hear it on Stitcher. There's a Player FM. You can do, let's see, Spotify and iTunes, or whatever iTunes is going to morph into. I'm going to talk to my pal Eric here at the end about how to get on there. Yeah, I'm really wanting to get on Spotify and iTunes, so hopefully those will be coming really, really soon. And if you have an Alexa device, you can enable any of the Spreaker, Google Play, or Stitcher skills and open them up and simply say, Alexa, play ParaReality Radio, and you can listen to it on Alexa. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's pretty sick.
Yeah. So like I said, next show is going to be on Friday, July 5th, 2019 at 8 p.m. Going to wind down the trilogy of shows about haunted Tennessee with Nashville paranormal hotspots. Everybody, I hope that this radio program opens up your minds to new ways of thinking, expands your consciousness, and produces a change in the way you see the world. If you wish to change, you must lift the veil of ignorance that has been cast over your eyes. Only then will you see the true power of the universe. For my friend and co-host, my good buddy, Eric P., this is Sandman, signing out. We'll see you again. And I'll see you in 2 weeks. Eric, when's your next podcast?
1 month?
1 month. Sweet. So Eric will see you.
Oh, you're talking about world we live in. I apologize. No, well, next couple weeks. Not sure yet. Yeah.
Sweet. Yeah. All right. So just keep in touch with World We Live in Pod and find out when their next podcast is going to be. And then Eric will be back here in 1 month. Everybody, I'll see you again in a couple of weeks. Have a good weekend, and we'll talk to you later.
If you wish to change, you must first lift the veil of ignorance that has been cast over your eyes. Only then will you see the true power of the universe.